Welcome to another episode of Side Draft Media. My name is Don. With me, my co-host Ryan. We want to welcome everybody to our show. We are breaking down Watkins Glen, the playoff race for the Cup guys, and the Xfinity race. They're still working towards the playoffs. But at first, we want to shout out our incredible sponsors that have been with us the whole way. We got our Don Tucker'd out custom diecast displays. These things are 3D printed. He can make any team, any color. He can make as many tiles as you want to hold as many cars as you want. We'll leave his link down in the description below. Make sure you check those out and get your hands on one. Also, we got to shout out NASCAR Adrenaline Rush Collectibles on Facebook groups. Wonderful, wonderful page with a lot of great guys out there selling all sorts of stuff from diecast, flags, hats, merch. You name it, you can find it on there. Make sure and check out their link. We'll leave it down below for you guys as well. Ryan, first of all, happy birthday, man! I understand you got to spend some time out at Watkins Glen this weekend. Let's talk about it, man.
Well, thank you. And thank you. Yeah, 40 years young or old, however you want to look at it.
Hell yeah!
I spent my birthday at Watkins Glen, and there's no place I would have rather been than at the racetrack on my birthday. So
There you
it
go.
was really great experience. Yeah, I was there Saturday to cover the Xfinity race, also Cup practice and qualifying, which the Cup Series had an extended practice session with the new stuff, the little tweaks that they made to the track. They allowed a little bit extra practice time, and then qualifying. Um, but we started in the morning with the Xfinity cars hitting the track bright and early for their practice session, qualifying. The 88 car was bad fast in practice. He won the pole in qualifying, and that would be driven by Connor Zilic, the rookie, the newly acquired junior motorsports driver for 2025, and running a couple races this season as well. Up and coming rookie phenom,
Right. And for
we
those that
got.
weren't paying attention, he took off a Red Bull helmet at the end of that race win. Freshly signed with Red Bull, so congratulations to Connor on that new deal.
Yeah, absolutely. We got into the race, and it was a really exciting race. There were, this isn't a playoff race for the Xfinity guys like it was the Cup guys this weekend. So when I say there wasn't as much on the line, I mean, of course, if you win, you get in in the Xfinity series. Now, Connor Zilic, congratulations, just flat out dominated the race. He was by far the fastest car out there all day long, from the moment practice started to throughout the race. I think at one point in time, he was running laps close to a second faster than everybody else, the next fastest driver. Which in pace changed throughout the race. We saw the SHR guys like Cole Custer, Riley Herbst have really good pace at certain points in the race, but then struggling with handling, which is odd to hearing all these handling issues throughout the race. But they were tight end, loose off, and Watkins Glen's not your typical road course where the way it's paved, it's banked. It's a fast track.
It carries a
Uh,
lot
it,
of
it
speed through most of that track.
Right, absolutely. So, it's not your typical road course in that sense, and handling does matter, versus say a street course out in Chicago.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it was really exciting to see that race unfold. Late race cautions seemed like we were going to have overtime for days. There was a mess at the end of that race, just oil all over the place. They kept re-racking them, and eventually we crowned a winner, but it wasn't without sweating it out. There was all these different fuel strategies that play into the race, where tires, fuel, where your last pit stop played out. Will these guys have enough? And um, thought the 88 was going to be extremely close, if not run out throughout that last series into the into that last green white checker restart. But he had enough, and he had enough to do some awesome burnouts on the front stretch and
I was
celebrate
gonna
with his
say he
team.
found some extra fuel in there somewhere for sure.
Yeah, he definitely had enough, and so I just want to say how awesome it was to be there for this kid's first win in the Xfinity Series, in his first start in the Xfinity Series, when he won his first pole in the Xfinity Series. I mean, the dude checked a lot of boxes in one day.
Yep.
He is going to be a force in the NASCAR series for years to come. He's only 18 years old. So we now know I have 22 years on him. So it's but him, William Sawalich is another driver that's moving up into Xfinity, and there's a lot of young talent coming up, and that's what makes the Xfinity series so fun to watch, and the Truck Series too, for that matter. Which the Truck Series had off this weekend, but the talent in these younger series, it's important. If you're a race fan, you got to lock in and watch these guys race. And women that are in these series, and they the racing is excellent, let alone the talent that's out there, and
Absolutely.
that just makes it that much more fun to watch. But it was a really, really exciting day at the track. I want to give a shout out to our friends that I was able to shake hands with. Guys that have been on the show, the Dakota Ratcliffs, the Matthew Kemps, the Corey Capalla, and Shane as well, from the SHR camp. Just incredible group of people. Get to meet those guys. There's been some others that we've been chatting with as well, and hope to have on the show. So it was great to get out there, shake hands, meet people, and just kind of put it all together, and really appreciate them coming on the show. And if you guys haven't checked out their episodes yet, then you definitely need to. They're all
Absolutely.
great watches. But yeah, it was a great day. Beautiful weather up in Watkins Glen. It's just a beautiful area in general. It's like when you're driving up, there's nothing, nothing, nothing. And you're like, where is this racetrack? You're like 5 minutes away from the location, and you see nothing. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden, oh, there's a piece of racetrack. I see a
Yep.
grandstand. But yeah, it's really nestled in the hills of New York, and it's just a beautiful area. But yeah, and then we get into today, which was a really exciting race. Ross Chastain very fast yesterday in practice, and ended up winning the pole.
Yep.
And so we started lap one of the second round of the playoffs, or
Oh boy.
I should
Buckle
say
up.
first round of the playoffs, second race in the round of 16.
Right.
And it didn't take but a little bit into lap one for things to get real interesting real fast. So we dial in Ross Chastain from the pole. Kyle Busch spins in the inner loop after contact with Corey LaJoy. Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Zane Smith, all of them were involved, some worse than others. Blaney was towed to the garage, and his day was over a half a lap in. If you even considered a half a lap, I don't even think it might have been less than a half a lap. It's ridiculous though. Denny Hamlin had significant damage as well, had to change toe link, but
And
they
they
were
got
able to
that
get.
done. So hats off to that crew for getting that done in a timely fashion also.
Yeah, they were able to get it done and get back out there. They were a lap down, but it all played out, to where they were able to earn their lap back, as we dig into this later. But man, Ryan Blaney in the playoffs, last year's defending champ. He's the defending series champion, with a just crushing blow to their day. Like I said, a quarter lap in, and it's just it's wild because this is the NASCAR playoffs. Anything can happen. And lap one, we saw massive playoff implications with a lot of these drivers, specifically Hamlin, Blaney, and Brad Keselowski was in it too, and he's a playoff driver. So
Yep.
we restart at lap six. AJ Allmendinger says something's breaking in the car. He heads to the garage, and AJ Allmendinger is always one that you have to watch on a road course because he's a road course ringer, as
Yep.
they call him. And his day was over. So we didn't get to see much out of the AJ Allmendinger vehicle today. After After some pit stops, Martin Truex Jr. Assumes the lead. He ends up winning stage one. There were more pit stops at the stage yellow. Chastain then reassumed the lead. So Truex came in, got his service out of the way. Lap 38. Fast forward a little bit. Lap 38. Daniel Suarez spins in turn six. He's another playoff driver.
Worst timing possible for Shane and Ross. Worst time.
Yeah.
It ended up being
Uh,
a fellow Chevy, of course.
and gets stuck in the sand trap. So the yellow had to come out.
Right.
Lap 40, Chastain wins stage two under yellow. SVG and Ross get trapped out there. And the reason why we say it's worse timing is because the drivers, as they know, so as a driver, as the leader takes the yellow with two, or I'm sorry, as the leader crosses the start and finish line with 2 laps to go, they close pit road
Right.
for the fans that aren't you know exactly
Familiar,
sure why
familiar
that was
with.
so significant. So a lot of the guys out there would either pit on 3 to go or dip in at 2 to go before they cross that line.
Right.
If you are the leader and you come in, you're fine. So they wanted to try to jump the stage and get their service done before then. All part of strategy at a road course, especially at a place like this.
Right.
So we resume lap 47. Uh, Denny Hamlin takes it 3 wide on the outside. Larson is on the inside, gets into Brad Keselowski. BK then goes into Hamlin. Yellow flag back out. Hamlin more torn up. Just you're gonna keep hearing us say names of playoff drivers. It was not a good day for playoff drivers
No, it was
at
not.
Watkins Glen.
Man, Watkins
Um,
Glen really just testing everybody's patience as far as the
a-
playoff drivers go today.
Absolutely. So we restart lap 50. Chastain still the leader. SVG is second. On lap 57, Chris Buescher, sorry, passes SVG for second because the older tires that Ross and SVG were on are starting to show up. Their lap speeds are starting to drop, and Buescher looked a lot faster at that point because of that tire difference.
Right.
Then he was a lot faster than Shane was and Ross at that moment. Lap 58, Ross, Chastain, SVG, Chase Briscoe, Chris, and then Chris. They pit. Chris Buescher then pits the lap after so he can hop onto their cycle, trying to see how that race is going to shake out. Uh, Buescher and his 17 team from RFK Racing were like, hey, I think, these are the guys we're going to be battling for a win potentially. Let's get on their cycle. And so they did. They came in, and then just the cycle begins. Pit stops all over the place, different pit strategies, many pitting. Um, as the 20 car of Christopher Bell was rounding turn seven, the 3 car of Austin Dillon spun him out. He spun Christopher Bell out as they were coming around seven. Bell is able to spin, correct it, and get into the pits. He was coming in. Apparently, Austin Dillon was not happy with Bell from prior when he was passed, which had caused some contact. Wasn't happy with the way Bell raced him. To me, it looked like racing. He looked like he was trying to get down and get into the pits, and just Dylan had nothing of it, and just spun him out.
That was a tough
Um,
one. As far as, from our angle of the replays and stuff, it did look like Christopher Bell was a little bit further out than he could have been as far as getting towards the pit entrance, and then coming across the nose, or Austin just driving straight through the corner, whichever, however you want to view it.
yeah,
It was just a recipe for something not good to happen, no matter what.
Yeah, now fortunately, nobody's carrying a ton of speed in that area, so it didn't really do damage to the 20 car. Like I
Right.
said, he was able to get it corrected and then come in, complete his pit stop, and get back out there. But obviously, you lose track position or time on track, especially during a green flag stop. And it did stay green. Um, the caution did not come out yet. As the pit cycle continued and various strategies in play, SVG was chasing down Chris Buescher. Um, Harrison Burton then gets we fast forward a little bit. Harrison Burton has a flat tire. Tire carcass is starting to come off. It causes a yellow with 11 laps to go. The 22 and the 6 were able to pit and jump that yellow before they threw it. The spotter's like, hey, think this is coming. Why don't you come on in? So it kind of um, played into strategy a little bit. However, we get into the restart after that yellow, and the 22 gets into the 6 and the 24 wreck. The 24, wow, wild ride. William Byron goes up and kind of does one of these things up of the guardrail where he just rides the guardrail, doesn't actually get into the fence itself, and then how he lands because of the wild ride. He had a part of his car, like I swear, his tire splitter was his splitter definitely was on the door of Brad Keselowski, and just resting there. You then see William Byron throw in a reverse and try to get his car to come off. It drops down. The alignment was knocked off, but somehow he was able to drive that thing around.
Which is pretty
And
crazy for these cars. I mean,
yeah,
once they take
it
shots
is
like that, it's hard for those cars to stay straight. But he managed to keep that 24
right.
going. So
Yeah, you would have thought toe link, some sort of suspension piece would have broke, but no, they were able to get it around, and the key for them was to try to ride around after that wreck, and just if there was other wrecks, they wanted to try to gain positions.
right.
Every spot matters. Every playoff point matters. So yeah, that was fun. We then restart with 3 to go. The 17 is your leader of Chris Buescher. Carson Hocevar, a name we haven't really mentioned yet. He had an excellent day.
Absolutely.
He was second on that restart with 3 to go. The 16 of SVG was third, Chastain fourth, and Briscoe round out the top five. But on that restart, we then see the 38 of Todd Gilliland get into the 9 of Chase Elliott. The 9 then goes into the 4. Reddick spins. And then you even see Kyle Busch get into Reddick a little bit after that spin. Cautions out. Um, and it's a re-rack.
Rack it up.
And yeah, rack it back up. Green, white, checker, overtime. It just almost seems inevitable. You get these late race cautions, no matter where you're at. It's desperation time.
Everybody sees an opportunity to win.
Yeah, and that old caution breeds cautions thing, just it's just a nature of the racing.
Right.
Um, so we re-rack them, and coming diving into turn one, you see just the slightest hint of contact to let him know he was there. But
Just a
SVG,
smidge.
SVG, I mean, overall, it's kind of clean. In my opinion. I mean,
It
that
was
was
decently clean.
it was racing. It was a racing pass, but SVG gets the lead, right? And this is coming to take the 1 to go. SVG gets the lead, just pulls off what I think was just an incredible pass.
Right.
Um, Comes across to get the white flag as the leader. Shane Van Gisbergen thinking, okay, road course guy, Watkins Glen,
I'm gonna go make
no,
7 turns and come get a
no,
checkered
yeah,
flag.
no surprise, right? Here we go. But Chris Buescher was not done and puts an incredible move on SVG himself.
Yep.
SVG says after the race, it was driver error. He kind of overdrove, and it allowed that door to be open for the 17 to capitalize. But
Right.
shout out to Chris Buescher. He had an incredible race, very strong in stage three, and was up there contending, fighting for the lead. And I mean, he had it at many points. Going into this restart and overtime, he was the leader. Just Shane was able to rattle his cage a little bit, get underneath him, but then I guess all is right in the world when if you lost the lead and are able to take it back with 1 to go. Chris Buescher, congratulations, you are the winner. Um, Shane Van Gisbergen obviously ends up second and heartbroken because he's not racing. As we know, he's gonna be full time in 2025. He's not racing for a championship. He's just trophy hunting today.
Right.
And we thought he was going to have his second Cup Series win. It looked like it, but it was Buescher in the end. A non-playoff driver wins today. If you would have told me before the race a non-playoff driver won, I would have said, okay, give me SVG or Allmendinger. Again, we didn't see much of Allmendinger. He had issues in the car, and SVG was there. He just overdrove, and here we go, Chris Buescher. But yeah, wild, wild finish, wild race altogether. Just
You
not
were
kind,
you were talking
not
about a
kind.
non-playoff driver winning. How about a non-playoff driver in the top five? If my numbers are correct,
Yes, correct.
that is absolutely incredible.
The entire top five was non-playoff drivers, which is
Correct.
just unreal for a playoff race.
Yep.
And uh, just a mind-blowing statistic, in my opinion. I don't believe it's ever been done before,
No.
where there was a top five in a playoff race where there was a non-playoff driver, just filled with non-playoff drivers.
And hats off to
Um,
all those drivers because they're not racing for a championship like some of these guys with the yellow banners on their car. These guys are racing for pride. They're racing for their teams. And they absolutely showed out this weekend. So hats off to every single one of those drivers that put together a great day.
Absolutely, and I'm going to give another shout out to Spire Motorsports because, like I said, Carson Hocevar was a name we mentioned, but he had a great day. Finished third. Carson Hocevar had a wonderful day, quiet,
Yep.
wonderful day for him. But how about Zane Smith finishing fifth, and Corey
Yep.
LaJoie finished eighth? All three of the Spire Motorsports cars were in the top eight. That is a huge, huge day for the Spire Chevys, who are one of the smaller teams in the sport, up and coming team though, mind you, because I think there's going to be a lot of noise coming out of their camp next year with their new driver lineup. Carson Hocevar, as we know, stays, but new crew chiefs.
Yep.
There's a lot of promise in the Spire camp, but what a strong showing for them.
They have
So
very, very methodically and quietly flown under this radar, and they are starting to let everyone know come 2025, you better watch out for us. We're talking about the 777 and 71. Those cars are quick, and they're putting some talent behind the wheel now.
yeah, yeah, really. And when we talk about teams having a very strong day as well, we saw that out of Stuart Haas Racing today as well.
Yep.
They were the highest finishing of the playoff drivers, with Chase Briscoe finishing sixth place today. Ryan Preece in the 41 car finished ninth. Noah Gragson finished 11th in the 10 car. The Berry machine finished 25th. As we said, he had some incidents earlier in the race that just kind of messed up his day.
Right.
Still three of them in the notable mention in the top 11. Really strong day for them, and really, really strong day for Chase Briscoe, who needed it after the misfortune of Atlanta, where he got caught up in the Kyle Larson spin out and
Right.
accident, that violent hit that Larson took. Briscoe also took a violent hit because he had nowhere to go and drove right into him.
Right.
And
And shout
it
out
was
to
a
that 14 team for getting that car above the cut line right now. They enter
yes.
Bristol above the cut line. That is amazing.
Yeah, great rebound after Atlanta.
Right.
As we know, he won. He won when he was up against it, bottom of the ninth, need a run. They hit that ball for hard contact when they won the race at Darlington. Gets
Yep.
himself in. Uh, really had a strong car at Atlanta. Just
Yeah.
didn't get to finish because got caught up. Obviously we're talking about if Larson wrecks and you're there to collect in that. Larson's typically in the top 10 himself. So,
Right.
they had a really strong piece in Atlanta, just didn't get to show for it. The next highest finishing playoff driver, Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric finished 10th. Again, he makes the playoffs with a win out in Gateway, and he's made the most of it. He's had two really strong playoff races. Has a nice cushion going into Bristol. So shout out to that Penske crew. Daniel Suarez ended up overcoming his issues today, finished 13th. Kyle Larson was 12th. So, you see the playoff drivers start to line up here. Christopher Bell, we talked about him getting spun out. He rebounded nicely with these late race cautions, able to avoid some of the messes. Finished 14th, salvaged a decent day.
Absolutely.
Um, Joey Logano, who's locked into the next round by virtue of his win last week, he's 15th, finishing today. But yeah, really, really not a good day for playoff drivers. Elliott finished 19th. Martin Truex Jr. 20th, Ty Gibbs 22nd, Denny Hamlin 23rd with a very beat up 11 car, just extremely beat up. Harrison Burton 24th, he's a playoff driver as well. Brad Kay, his car was beat badly as well, finished 26th. Tyler Reddick, the regular season champion, just could not rebound from early on issues. He finished 27th. Rough day for your playoff drivers. Just an insane wild card race. And of course, just to mention again, William Byron, he had that accident. He finished 34th, and Ryan Blaney 38th. Just an insane day for playoff drivers. I really thought, Atlanta be that wild card race with, being a plate setup,
Right.
but man, we got two of them back to back. We had Atlanta, we had, and you had incidents that happened there. And then you go to Watkins Glen, which, I had mentioned that, it's a road course. It could be a wild card, but it was. And I was not expecting it to be this much of a wild card, though, that all those playoff drivers just flat out struggled. I mean, those statistics for not having a playoff driver in the top five is
Never
just
seen something like that.
it's
Absolutely incredible.
just
Uh,
beyond me. And
and
a
that
shake up in the points too because of it. Just
Right.
wild.
That just goes to show that these guys that don't make the playoffs, they don't care about your playoff run. We are going for our team. We are going for our own trophies. Y'all handle your playoffs on your own time. We're going for wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I kind of like that about the NASCAR playoff system. It gives those teams not in the playoffs a chance to come in and play spoiler, for lack of better terms, but not really. They're playing to win. That's why they're out there. So
yeah,
hats off to all those guys below that 16 that cut line because they showed out. Their fans have something to cheer for. I absolutely love it.
yeah, absolutely. And again, I think I may have said it before, but that is the beauty of our sport in general. With the NASCAR racing system, I mean, every team competes on the same field, mind you, if you want to put it that way, because in other sports where it's playoffs and some of those other teams have to go home because they didn't make the postseason.
Yep.
Not in our sport. Everybody gets to show up and fight for a win, fight for a trophy. That's what their sponsors expect of them. That's what the fans expect of them.
Yep.
And the non-playoff drivers definitely showed up and brought it today at Watkins Glen. So
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. Shout out to all those non-playoff drivers and teams that we're able to get an incredible run in. Um, just exciting day watching how it all shook out, and then to see the playoff mix up. I think we need to get into this because um, a team that we thought was going to be a force in the postseason is on the verge of not making the round of 12, and that would be the 11 of Denny Hamlin. And we can even mention his teammate Martin Truex Jr., who is also below the cut. Two Joe Gibbs Racing teams that were very strong and consistent throughout the entire season, having misfortune, and the system has not been kind to them. Now, they can blame themselves a little bit as far as Hamlin and the 11 team is concerned with what we saw play out at Atlanta. And if they have a bad Bristol, um, they might be scratching their head and second guessing themselves the entire rest of the season and off season.
If I were the
Because
11 team, and I'm going to interrupt you real quick, Ryan. If I'm the 11 team, I'm scratching my head halfway through the Atlanta race. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, what? Denny Hamlin is one of the best plate racers in the entire grid. And you're gonna take the first round of the playoffs and you're gonna ride around the back. You're not even gonna attempt stage points. You're not gonna make any effort to see if your car is competitive in the field. You know what? They made their own bed and now they're lying in it. So I don't feel bad for the 11 team. I don't have anything against the 11 team. Don't get me wrong, all the 11 fans listening, but they did this to themselves, and then they go into Watkins Glen like, all right, we got to make something of this day. We got to get something out of it, and they immediately get caught up in the nonsense. And
Hmm.
so,
Yeah.
it's hard to say anything other than they did it to themselves. So going to
Yeah.
Bristol,
And then
Denny's
bad place, bad time,
right,
like,
right. And Denny obviously won the Bristol race earlier this year. Didn't get eligibility for the playoffs from that win with everything with the TRD engines. We've been over that, but he had other wins that got him into the playoffs. He had plenty of points, but now he's -6. Denny Hamlin's name and number is sitting in the red of the playoff grid, y'all, and it's because of what happened at Atlanta. Now he would have finished the race, I think, somewhere in the 20s if he doesn't get caught up in that late wreck, but that's still a bad day. That's still a bad day at Atlanta. Fast forward to Watkins Glen, and you have another just first lap just blunder, and
yeah.
now you're limping around the track wondering what are we doing here? Like this isn't a championship contending team, so you
I mean,
know
they don't look like it. They don't
they
look
don't
like it
look like
right
it at
now.
all.
And
Absolutely
that can totally change at Bristol though.
right.
And we'll preview that in a brief second here. We'll circle right back around. That could totally change at Bristol for them. They were very strong at Bristol in the spring. We know they won that race. Um, and it's a good track for Denny. So if there's got to
Great
be a
track.
track, yeah, if there's got to be a track that they're looking forward to going to and righting the wrongs of the start of this postseason, it's Bristol. And Bristol is a wild card race as well, though.
Yep.
You're racing in a bathtub there. It is the it could be calamity in just a brief second. If somebody gets spun and slides up the track, there's nowhere to go. It could be like just as bad as what we saw this weekend, with cars all over the place, nowhere to go. And then same thing in Atlanta at a plate race. It's a different atmosphere, different track, same result. Um, and I mean, if they're able to avoid that mess and run strong, only being 6 points below the cut, they're still in it. Okay,
Right.
so but listen, that red exclamation point's got to be above their head. They've got to be locked in, dialed in, and dot their I's, cross their T's, cross their toes, cross their fingers, and they got to go out and execute, because they don't have any room for error anymore. It is gone. They're six below the cut coming into this race, and that's the way it's got to be. They almost need to have that mentality of, we need to win this race.
They are in a
Um,
must win, because if they don't win, they're going to get caught up in somebody else's nonsense, and they're going to find themselves below the cut line. That's just as
It
simple.
just seems that's how his season's going, and that's how his playoffs go.
Right.
It's characteristic or stereotypical Denny Hamlin in the postseason. I just didn't think we'd see it in the round of 16.
I didn't think we'd
Um,
see it this early in the playoffs, and I definitely
yeah,
didn't think they'd stick themselves in a hole that could have been avoided last week. I don't understand the game plan. I don't understand the call. Again, I'm just a guy on a show on YouTube, and they're the professionals out there doing it. But you're below the cut line, guys. So
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
man. Maybe something different. They're not even unloading fast, Ryan. Like, let's call it what it is. They're unloading horrendous race cars at Atlanta and Watkins
yeah.
Glen. They qualify poorly.
Yes,
What
correct.
is
And
go?
Denny even said, he goes, it started when we qualified poorly. He goes, it's one of those things. He said that I need to be better in qualifying so we don't get stuck in the back here and have the potential for these messes. And he's absolutely right.
He
He
called it.
owns that. He shouldered that. And so, hats off to him for speaking on it and recognizing it. But yeah, you're absolutely right with that statement. And I would say the Gibbs cars as a whole, except for Ty Gibbs, were off this weekend in practice and qualifying. And let's flip to the other side of that garage with the 19 team. They are 14 below the cut. Martin Truex Jr. just barely squeaking into the postseason after we just saw a skid down the standings in the last couple races leading up to the playoffs.
We gave
And
him a 4 race cushion. This was almost 6 weeks ago, And
Yeah,
Martin Truex Jr. was plus 140, and he finds himself minus 14 today.
it's wild. Um,
Absolutely insane.
It's absolutely insane, and he was quite frustrated at the end of the race. Naturally, so he knows
Right.
they're up against it as well. At Bristol, again, minus 14 is not impossible. You capture stage points. You could win a race. You could just finish strong. Other people could have attrition. He's not out of it, and we're not calling him out of it. As a matter of fact, nobody's out of it. Looking at how the standings are, last place in the round of 16 is Harrison Burton. He's 20 points below the cut. Uh, it's desperation time for sure. I've seen that 21 car run extremely well at Bristol before. So there's no saying that he can't go out there and shock the world and point his way into the next round. It all depends on how they unload. Are they going to unload fast? Are they going to be able to keep it clean? And then in 14th, we haven't mentioned it yet, but he had a rough day with accidents as well as Brad Keselowski. He's 12 points below the cut. So who's above the cut? Well, obviously everybody else, but let's talk about those standings. Another JGR team, 6 points to the good, Ty Gibbs. Right ahead of him. You had mentioned about shout out getting it right after a bad Atlanta race. Chase Briscoe is 11th in the points, six above the cut line, going into a track they feel really good about.
They're
The
very
Stuart
good at Bristol.
the Stuart Haas camp is very confident going into Bristol as a whole. I've been able to speak to some of the guys in that camp. They said, let's get to Bristol, see what happens. We think that we feel good about going into Bristol again. Have to avoid the messes, though. Have to avoid any mistakes, too. You don't need to be getting caught speeding on pit road or
Right.
have just something silly ruin your day when you have something going right for you. So, um, you know, right now it's their race. Those teams that are above the cut right now and they're close, it's their races to lose. They know this as well. They got to feel the pressure just as much as those guys who are on the outside looking in. Um, and we talk about two of the Hendrick cars that uh, Kyle Larson, we had mentioned, had a really bad race in Atlanta with the violent accident that he had when he spun out. Um, he's in ninth place, 26 above the cut line. A bad race at Bristol. We could potentially see the 5 car not make the postseason. Right
Or
behind,
the round of 12.
yeah. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. The next round of the postseason.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, thank you. And in 10th place is his teammate, 1 point less than him at plus 25 is William Byron after the race he had, finishing in the rear. It's been a brutal playoffs. Now Ryan Blaney had a good race at Atlanta. Um, Fortunately for them, because with a good finish, you get a little bit of room for that cushion um, that we speak of. He's plus 29. Chase Elliott plus 30. Tyler Reddick, the regular season champion, plus 30. Daniel Suarez plus 36. Shout out to them.
Yep.
They have had a great postseason so far. And man, they tried not to have a good day today, or at
Right.
least people around him had, there's all those issues. Like I said, he was stuck in the sand trap at one point. They overcame adversity, salvaged the day, plus 36, fifth in points right now going into Bristol. It looks like they should advance. They should have enough to get it done. Just going to have to see how the day shakes out. And then you get into fourth place, Alex Bowman plus 41. Austin Cindric, we talked about him a little bit. What an incredible postseason he's having so far.
Yep.
Two really great races. They kind of shaped up well this first round for Austin Cindric. These first two
Absolutely.
races
Very
were
talented road
awesome.
racer and plate racer.
Yes, absolutely. Austin Cindric has been excellent at Watkins Glen in the past, especially in the Xfinity cars. Um, so I'm not shocked to see it. The track's favored how Austin Cindric likes to race.
Right.
And that two team has stepped up right now, quietly and confidently. That two team is third place in points right now. Christopher Bell is second in points, plus 46 above the cut. It almost seems like he just needs to start the race and have a good stage one, and he would advance.
Right.
But
You
it's
still want to go get
again,
those points, man, because you're
you
going to
don't
jump. You're going to
Yeah,
jump right into round of 12, and you're going to be
yeah,
needing those points just as much.
everything matters. And Bristol's a good race for Christopher Bell. We know
Correct.
he's won the dirt race there, but he likes Bristol, loves to get around that track. So, and then there's Joey Logano who's locked in. He could go to Bristol and he's sleeping well the night before that race,
Yep,
knowing
they're
that.
they're they're just going to go have fun, go get some stage points, maybe chase a
Yeah,
win. So,
absolutely. But the playoffs, the way that they set up, um, going into Bristol is absolutely wild. There's going to be some playoff brackets that are definitely broken by the end of that race.
absolutely.
There's gonna be hurt feelings. There's gonna be upset drivers, fans. Bristol is setting up to be exciting. And as I was at Watkins Glen this week for this race, you get to experience the madness of Bristol with our executive partner Nathan. You and him will be at the track to get to cover this race, and it's what a what a race to be at. I mean, it's the Bristol night race, first of all. I mean, anytime you get the chance to go to that, fan, media, or both in our case,
Right.
how exciting is that, Don? But it's just a race that is setting up to be mind blowing.
Listen,
Um,
Bristol is going to be absolutely insane. It's the last great Coliseum. It's the cutoff race before the round of 12. We're going to have drivers in desperation mode. We're going to have drivers just cruising along, minding their own business. I want to elaborate on a couple of things that you brought up on the playoff list real quick. And who would have thought we would have three JGR guys in the bottom five of the standings? I mean, that is unheard of. On the opposite end of that, you got three of the Penske guys in the top 8 right now.
right.
Absolutely incredible. Shout out to Austin Cindric and that 2 team. They are absolutely balling out right now. They've got something figured out with the team as a whole, and they are trucking right along. They're looking to make a good, strong appearance in the round of 12. Ryan Blaney, of course, like you said, he struggled, but he's still got a good enough cushion to where if he has a decent day at Bristol, he'll be fine. Another thing I wanted to bring up was the Hendrick team. Who would have thought Alex Bowman of the 4 Hendrick guys would be leading as far as those 4 cars in the playoffs? Absolutely mind blowing. Now we all know
Yeah,
Alex Bowman can win at the top level. We know he's a gifted driver, but as far as his season, even the last season, it seemed like he was there. Just something was missing. Something has been off. And man, you get to the playoffs, and Alex Bowman's like, hold on, we'll fix that narrative for you guys, and they find themselves in 4th place.
absolutely.
It's
And
bonkers, man.
I want to add on the 48 camp of Alex Bowman and all these rumors that have been swirling around the NASCAR world about his seat being in jeopardy. Mind you, he is under contract with Hendrick Motorsports in 2025.
Right.
I've made a comment about this on social media, and for anybody who hasn't seen it and is watching this, he's under contract in 2025. So
Right.
whatever happens in the driver's seat for the 48. Now, Rick Hendrick has come out and said he'll be in the 48 next year.
Okay.
But everybody's saying, what if the 48 number moves to another team? There are some seats that have not been filled yet, and um, you know, all I'm gonna say about the Alex Bowman rumors is, yeah, there's been times where performance has been disappointing, but I will come out and say, in the 2024 campaign, now he may have stole one out in Chicago. Okay, right place, right
Stole.
time,
Right.
right place, right time. But he was obviously still a strong contender that weekend
Right.
in Chicago. So we say that loosely. To lock himself into the postseason with that
Right.
win was great and huge for that team. But he was one of the more consistent drivers as far as average finish goes this season. He
Right.
was in the top 5 of that. And I want to shine a little light on that because there's a lot of shade that gets thrown around on the Alex Bowman, and he's kind of like the black sheep of the Hendrick Motorsports group at times. And it's just something I wanted to bring out. Am I a Bowman truth or no? I just want to point out the facts and give credit where it's due. That team has done an incredible job at capitalizing in these first 2 races of the postseason. Obviously, they are performing right now when it matters, and we'll see what happens as the playoffs continue. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, Don. He is he is the Pied Piper in the Hendrick camp right now, and you know, it's just crazy how the postseason has played out, and it's why we race the races, right? You know,
Exactly.
you could take everything you've seen in the regular season, crumble it up, and throw it out the window because it doesn't matter. Um, even your regular season champion Tyler Reddick had an awful day here at the Glen. Now they avoided the mess at Atlanta, and that's a good thing for them because if they would have had back-to-back weeks of a mess, we could be talking about the 45 team and how bad of a post start of a postseason that they're having, because they had anything but a good day today.
Correct.
And they're going to Bristol, a track that he can run really well at. Plus 30 is not safe. If you have a bad stage one and it ruined like a Ryan Blaney incident, like he done in half a lap,
Yep.
it could be really, really bad for drivers that are around that plus 30. So nobody's safe. There's a reason why we race the race.
Joey
And
Logano's safe.
yeah, exactly. But everybody behind him's got to worry.
Right.
Nobody can start that race knowing that they can't they need to turn some laps and get through stage one. If you're with a really good cushion and you get through stage one and you're able to get stage points or maximum stage points at that,
Right.
you're breathing a lot easier at
Get a
that
little bit
point.
of that
But
pressure off, then you can kind of settle into the race a little bit better.
yeah, absolutely. You'll start to see after stage one some drivers probably lock themselves into the next round, which I'm
Right.
sure the broadcast will be all over. But yeah, I'm really, really interested to see how Bristol shakes out,
I wanted to
because
also
there's
mention
so many
that
different ways this could go.
I wanted to mention that the two guys that really dominated Bristol at the beginning of the year in the spring, those two gentlemen find themselves below the cut line in the playoffs right now. Now, I don't know how that can be scripted any better as far as, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty crazy to think. So, expect Denny and Martin to have good days, expect them to stay out of trouble, expect them to unload fast and qualify well. But avoiding trouble at Bristol Motor Speedway when you've got 14 other guys that are hunting the same playoff spots you're hunting, it's going to be interesting. And I can't be more excited to be headed out to Bristol Motor Speedway. We're leaving Tuesday night, so wish us safe travels if you're listening to this. We're driving all the way from San Antonio, Texas. Like Ryan mentioned, our executive producer Nathan and myself. We're going to head out to Charlotte and enjoy some sights out there for a little bit, and then we'll shoot over to Bristol for the Xfinity and Cup race. We will be down in the pits, so if you guys are seeing this and you see our hats, you see our logos on our backpacks, tap us on the shoulder and say hi. We are ready to engage with the fans. We are ready to make new friends, shake hands with everyone. We are so excited for the opportunities we've been given, and we're going to take full advantage of them all the way across the board. So yeah, like I was saying, if you see our logo or if you see our faces, walk up to us and say hi. We'll take a picture, all that good stuff. But
Yeah,
man, Bristol being the prestigious race that it is, the night race, of course, it's a playoff race, it's a cutoff race. I'm getting chills talking about it, Ryan. I'm getting absolutely, I'm giddy, man. I'm ready to get on the road and get out there. So I
yeah,
can't.
yeah, absolutely. And all three of the national series are on the track this weekend. There, the
Yep.
trucks are back in action for another playoff race in the truck series. We have the Xfinity race, and then we have the Cup race, and it's going to be exciting. And I'm curious to see who your picks are. Your pick and your dark horse for this weekend. You had just mentioned about the two of the drivers that were below the cut in the JGR. Yeah, they finished 1-2, yeah, in
Right.
the spring. Actually, there was not a JGR car out of the top 10 at Bristol in the spring.
And that's not surprising.
Ty Gibbs
That
and Christopher Bell were ninth and 10th.
those guys always are fast at Bristol. Whatever JGR has figured out at that racetrack is beautiful to watch. They click laps down, they stay up front, they stay out of trouble. Always great pit stops, and I'm sure we'll see the same thing this weekend. With the string of bad luck Denny Hamlin's having, I definitely have switched my main pick to win this race. I think it's a mental thing. I mentioned it on last week's show. I genuinely think it's a mental thing with the 11 team and Denny Hamlin now. I think they're going to find them. This is just an opinion, of course. I think they're going to find themselves in some trouble, and I think it's going to be because he's trying to stay out of trouble. That's just how I
Okay.
see it right now. So I'm not going to pick Denny Hamlin to be a dark horse or a winner this week. If I had to go with a dark horse, and as weird as it sounds to say, Kyle Larson. Obviously, he's capable of winning this track. He's always super fast at Bristol. The Hendrick guys all the way across the board, of course. Give me the 5 car and Hendrick and locking himself into the next round of the playoffs as my dark horse. As far as the main winner, I really like me some C Bell this weekend. Obviously, a JGR car. We were just saying how they are always incredible at Bristol. Christopher Bell performs best under pressure. Now, he's not under a lot of immense pressure, but he's still not safe. So he's going to go out there and perform. And I definitely, if I had to make any kind of bet on it, it would be the 20 car, the Toyota Camry and JGR Racing.
Okay. I love the picks. You can't go wrong with Larson and Bell.
Right,
Two guys who came up in the dirt world together, and now they're racing for NASCAR Cup champions together.
right.
It's I agree. The 11 team is up against it, man. I mean, their back is against the wall, um, and they've had some awful luck lately. So I'm staying away as well. I can't go there.
Unless
Now,
they give us a reason to change it in the middle of the
yeah,
race, I just don't see it.
yeah, they've just been on a streak of just bad luck
I
and
think it's
just
up here, man.
bad 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 races. Now I had looked back at speed charts from the spring. Um, And I thought about this. So my dark horse pick is one who was extremely fast in the spring. He won stage one and stage two, and that's Ty Gibbs. The 54 car was bad fast there in the spring, and he's a playoff driver chasing that elusive first win. As a Cup Series driver, eventually he's going to win one.
Oh, absolutely.
He's too talented and on too talented of a team not to.
Right.
Um, I think this could be the weekend. And obviously that would advance and shake up the standings a little bit too going into the round of 12. As far as my favorite to win, um, it's going to be a driver that's below the cut, and it's going to be Brad Keselowski. He finished third in the spring race, was very consistent and fast. The speed just doesn't lie. Both the RFK cars are actually really good there. Would not be surprised to see Buescher go back to back. And Buescher's won at Bristol before.
Correct.
And Brad has as well. May not have been in his own car, but he's won in Bristol.
Still
So
knows how to win there.
he knows how to get around the place. I really, really like Brad K this weekend, and especially after the awful race they had this weekend. I think it's, just like Denny Hamlin, it's a great rebound track for them.
Correct.
He knows how to get around that place. It's a place he likes, and I can definitely see and would not be surprised if the six was sitting in victory lane and RFK goes back to back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just where my head's at right now. And
Great picks.
I don't want to pick my drivers because I don't want to put the jinx on them. So but no, I really think the 54 and the six could be a force this weekend.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to Bristol though. It's action packed. And honorable mention actually is going to be the 14 at Chase Briscoe. I just got a vibe about this team showing up to Bristol and having
they're
something to
clicking
work
right
with
now.
there.
They are
Yeah,
absolutely clicking.
yeah. So I'm going to give them the honorable mention nod. I really hope they show up and continue and they get the chance to advance and show that it just wasn't a fluke win, because they were in the top 20 in points all season. So
Right.
you know, it's not like they were last place trying to looking outside, looking in, window shopping.
We
So
won't
just
mention any other teams hanging out in the 34 range, but we know
yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
it's going to be a great weekend, Ryan. Just can't say enough about how much we're looking forward to it. And again, just meeting more people, meeting more fans, meeting more crew members to possibly invite to the show in the future. I know the playoffs are in full swing now, but we got the off season coming. So I know we're looking forward to some things here on Side Draft Media. We're really looking forward to all the experiences that come with it. And I know we're cutting it short on time now here. We just went through another hour episode, which is absolutely wonderful. But man, what else you got for me just to close this one out, man?
I just wanted to give one thing, and it's an update to somebody who's appeared on this show,
Okay.
and had taken time to give us an update. And I can say this with privileged knowledge, knowing that when this episode airs, it will be an official announcement for everybody to hear. But Tyler Tomasi, our very own Side Draft Media guest, and a guy who's been climbing and clawing through the ranks, whether it be an ARCA or a truck, is going to be privileged to get his second career Truck Series start at Bristol. I'm very excited for Tyler. Congratulations, Tyler. Uh,
Congratulations,
and
bud.
and look for him on the track. He is going to be racing with Young's Motorsports, and I'm very excited for his opportunity this weekend. The guys here at Side Draft Media always got your back, bud. So congratulations and go get them this weekend.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Ryan, another great episode of Side Draft Media. We're looking forward to another playoff race, the cutoff race to the round of 12. It's going to be exciting. We can't wait to get out there and see you guys. Man, that's it for this one. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all that great stuff that comes with the social media business. You know what to do. Leave some comments, man. Talk to us what you think about Watkins Glen and Bristol. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. This is Side Draft Media. This is my co-host, Ryan. My name is Don, our executive producer behind the scenes, Nathan. Y'all have a great day.